knows who's here. All right. Good evening. It is Monday, July 27th at 7 p.m. and I call the Maple Plains City Council meeting to order. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I am looking for a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Cahill.
Second.
Second by DeLuca. Any further discussion? All in favor of approving the agenda as is?
Aye.
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 Opposed, same sign or raise a hand. You're opposed?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm like, so I thought you voted aye. All right, the ayes have it 5-0. The agenda is adopted. First item of business this evening is very excited, our interim city administrator introduction, and we are thrilled to welcome Frank Boyles as our interim city administrator and just welcome you to the team, Frank. Frank brings over 40 years of public service experience, so we are excited to work together and learn from him and have him lead us through this transition. So I'm going to turn it over to Frank for a couple minutes. Oh, you're muted, Frank.
I thought I got it. There we go. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, members of the public who are present tonight. The honor is all mine, of course, to be able to serve a community, up-and-coming community like Maple Plain is quite an honor. There's a whole lot of things happening here. I found that out very quickly in just maybe a day and a half. I look forward to working with you. I had the opportunity to share a work session with you just before this meeting, and the discussion was robust. There were different perspectives, but what I saw there was a city council who really respects one another and knows how to come out with the answers that I think are good for the populace. So again, I appreciate this opportunity. I expect to work in such a fashion that your confidence will be well placed. So thank you much, and I look forward to working with you for the next number of months.
Thank you, Frank. Our next item of business is visitors to be heard, and I have no public comment forms. Frank, do you have anyone down there with?
I do not.
Okay, then we will move on to our consent agenda. The item tonight on our consent agenda is approval of a submittal of the Rotary Grant application for Veterans Memorial Park benches and flags. And I am looking for a motion to approve the Rotary Grant.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilmember Fay. Looking for a second. Second by Councilmember Cahill. Any further discussion? All in favor, and it will be a roll call vote. Frank, would you lead that roll call vote for us, please?
Certainly. I'm sorry. I wasn't ready for that.
Me neither.
Councilmember Cahill.
Aye.
Mayor Kuski.
Aye.
I'm trying to get the alphabet right here, guys.
Oh, you're fine.
Councilmember Fay.
Aye.
Councilmember DeLuca.
Aye.
And Councilmember DeLong.
Aye.
All right. The ayes have it then, 5-0. So the grant is approved. Next item of business is accounts payable, and want to make note of the Xcel Energy pay request was for the new electrical service to Veterans Memorial Park. With that, obviously Frank's been on board, as he said, for a day and a half, so we'll not have answers to our questions, but we'll happily take them and get back to us with answers. So if anyone has any questions or concerns about accounts payable for July, please speak up. All right. Hearing none, I am looking for a motion to approve our July accounts payable.
So moved.
Moved by DeLong,
Second.
second by DeLuca. And again, we need to do a roll call vote because we're meeting virtually. So Frank, and there's no particular order you can go in, sir.
Oh. That does make it easier. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mayor Kuski,
Aye.
Councilmember Cahill,
Aye.
Councilmember Fay,
Aye.
Councilmember DeLuca,
Aye.
Councilmember DeLong.
Aye.
All right, the ayes have it, 5-0. Our next item of business is our administrative reports. They were submitted. We did receive people services late. Did everyone have a time to read that one, or do we need to come back to that? Everyone had time to read it? Okay, so I would like to propose that we accept the city planner report, West Hennepin Public Safety report, and people services report as submitted, and pull this city engineer. So looking for a motion to accept city planner, West Hennepin Public Safety, and people services administrative monthly reports.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Moved by DeLong, second by Cahill. And again, we need to do a roll call vote to accept those three reports.
All right, I'll get better at this, guys. Mayor Kuski,
Aye.
okay. Councilmember Cahill,
Aye.
Councilmember Fay,
Aye.
Councilmember DeLuca,
Aye.
Councilmember DeLong.
Aye.
All right, the ayes have it. And Frank, going forward, if you would go by Moss Kuski, that would help everyone since that's who I am. It's okay.
All right.
You're fine. A complicated last name. All right, so let's go back to our city engineer report, which has been submitted. And I'm going to turn that over to our engineer, Jeff. We're going to give you the floor, and then we'll have some dialogue.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, members of the council. The first item on my report was the capital improvement plan. Bobby had asked me to take a little time, review the plan, and I just wanted to go over with you the information I had relayed to Bobby. The main change I made to the plan was we had a number of streets in the Sealco category, and I moved a lot of them out of the Sealco category and into the overlay category. And I did recommend some streets for a seal coat in 2020. Bobby had relayed the information to me that you had decided as a group to push that 2020 seal coat back to 2021. And again, I spent about 10 hours on it. So at a time in the future when you think it's appropriate, I would like to spend some additional time on the CIP to better define the cost estimates and look through as-built and nail down some years for future overlays. Are there any questions on the CIP, or do we want to talk about that at all? I can move on. Another thing, Bobby also asked me to look at street patching for 2020. I did look at all the streets. I recommend minimal patching. We did talk about this at our staff meeting. There's a small patch in the cul-de-sac on Amy Lane and a small patch on Industrial Boulevard in the cul-de-sac, as well as a couple spots on Bradford Street. And it's my understanding we're looking at reconstructing Bradford Street next year. So we had talked as a staff and determined that People's Service should just bring somebody out to patch those 3 streets. I did send those over to People's Service today and let them know that Bradford Street should just simply be just a little skin patch. We don't want to spend a ton of money on that street if we're going to be reconstructing it next year. Moving on to the park. The band shell is scheduled for delivery the week of August 17th. So that's good news if they stay on schedule. There's not much work left to do out there. We have some restoration. We have to set some monuments. There's some signage. And then there's some additional storm sewer that we could put in and the removal of that tree we discussed at the last meeting if you decide to move forward with those 2 improvements. The playground contractor has not given me a schedule yet. I know he ordered the playground equipment, but he has not given me a schedule on when that will be shipped. And also good news, Xcel Energy has indicated they could be out the week of August 10th to hook up the electrical service. Now, my experience in the past is it's been pretty tough to get Xcel out to hook up these services. So if they stick to their schedule and they're out the week of the 10th, that's good news. Under miscellaneous engineering, I did have a resident at 4850 Independence Street. She notified the city. She had been dealing with Bobby that I'll call them pop-outs. There were some pop-outs on her driveway she wasn't happy with from the 2018 project. I did contact the contractor. He did actually go out and patch the driveway this week. I know the resident probably wasn't happy with the fact that she was only getting it patched and not replaced. And I don't have her phone number, but I do have her email, and I did ask her to give me a call so we could discuss. And I have not heard from her. The last issue I have is the contractor then did request that he gets his retainage released for that project. And we are currently holding $3,776.31 in retainage. I have talked to Councilmember Fay. He did send me an email. One of the conditions, there's a sag in the sanitary sewer line. So what we did as a city is we had required a 5-year warranty as opposed to 2-year warranty. I did contact the contractor. He said he supplied the city with the 5-year warranty. I sent an email to Sharon today. I haven't heard back yet to confirm that we have that 5-year warranty bond. So that is something that may require a council action if you would like to release that retainage. And that's all I have for my engineering report.
Questions or comments for engineer Jeff?
Jeff, there was two things that were conditional on the releasing of the retainage. The other one was the seating. Do you want to explain to the customer or council what you think about the seating along the bituminous trail along Highway 12?
Yeah, so the memo I had, really the reason for the retainage was the seating along Highway 12. I went out and looked at it. Now I'm looking at it in July. The seating was done in the spring, so months ago, and the seating's not the greatest, but it's what I expect maybe for it to look like in a ditch along a highway that's not maintained. So, you know, it's a tough one. It's not the greatest, but it's not in somebody's front yard. It's in a ditch on a highway. We could release the retainage. I could see if I could get them to overseed it, but the fact is it's in a ditch along a highway. So we have to maintain it if we expect it to flourish.
When you say you need council action, are we going to have to make a motion to release the retainage?
Yes, I think you should. If you would like us to release it, I think there should be a motion.
Can a motion be made with the condition that the extension of the warranty bond be found first or identified first?
Yes, you could put that condition on there.
Because that item wasn't on the council workshop for tonight, would it make more sense to see if you can close out, make sure there's a 5-year bond, look again at that seating and put it on the next council meeting? I don't like adding items at the end. It's just not transparent.
I could do that.
Let's do that then, and we'll bring that back next month.
Okay.
Thank you, Jeff.
And then full disclosure to the council, the mayor and I walked Veterans Memorial Park with Jeff late last week. I'm sure he's going to get into some other aspects of it tonight. Is that correct, Jeff?
Yes, I think our next agenda item is the pay request, but there's a number of things to go over with that agenda item.
Agreed. Are we going to discuss the tree removal under the pay request, Jeff, or would that be appropriate to do now as that was part of your report?
We could do that now.
Yeah, I think that would fall now because that was part of your engineer's report. So Jeff had alluded to the tree, potentially removing that. So I'm going to turn that back over to you to elaborate on a little bit, Jeff.
So you're referring to the tree in the park?
Yep.
Okay.
That pine tree.
Yeah, so there's a tree in the park that we discussed at our last meeting, or at least the last meeting I was a part of, that it has quite a bit of insect damage to it. It's a hardy tree. It could last. It's still alive. It could last years, or it could die on us very soon. So I did get a price from the contractor, $1,550 to remove the tree. And then if we were going to replace it with one of the trees, I think they were honey locusts. We do have bid prices for a replacement tree, so it would just be an additional tree. Oh, I lost you there. An additional tree. So that would be some direction I would like tonight if we want to move forward with that $1,550 change order to remove that tree, and if we want to add in a honey locust.
And if council hasn't been out there to look at it, it's clearly out of place.
I like the idea of replacing it with a younger one.
Any other feedback?
No, I'd agree. I trust John's opinion on it being out of place.
And I too agree that I think it should be replaced and with a younger looking tree and a healthier tree. All right. So with that, then I'm looking for a motion to accept the city engineer's July report and approval for the change order to remove the bad tree and replace it with a honey locust tree.
Can I ask one more question?
Yes, you may.
Jeff, we talked about checking elevations on the civil plan on the park for drainage. Where are we on that?
So we do have a low area out there between the basketball court and the new sidewalk that we put in. I did get I got a quote from the contractor, $4,600 to extend drain tile into that low area. Councilmember Fay asked about getting the sidewalk shot to see, was the sidewalk constructed according to plan? What happened here? So we did shoot it today. Okay, I did not get the information from our surveyors prior to this meeting, so I will need to look at it tomorrow morning when they get it downloaded to see what happened. I anticipate the sidewalk being put in pretty dang close to plan. The issue we have with the plans are, if you were going to grade that park exactly the way the plan showed, you would have had to tear out the basketball court and most of that existing trail. So, and that's not what the plans called for. They didn't call for tearing out the basketball court. It's just, the grading plan just wasn't the greatest. So we tweaked grades to save the basketball court and save the trail. Well, as a result, that trail really is the low point in the park. To eliminate that low point, we would have had to rip out the trail. So,
You're
but I
talking
will.
the bituminous trail.
The bituminous trail, yes. The bituminous trail. So, but I will get the shots tomorrow. I'll look at them. If you want me to meet with a council member, or I don't know how you want to do it, so I can relay the information to you. But we do need to make a decision on if we should extend the storm sewer, because the contractor has prepped the site for seed, and he'd like to get it seeded before the weeds start popping out. So I don't want to wait too long before we decide on if we're going to install the storm.
So when you say too long, Jeff, then I'm hearing our next council meeting is too far out, which would be
A
the
month?
end. Yeah, a month, the end of August. I don't have the date in front of me.
Yes, that's too far.
All right. Would 2 weeks be doable, or is that still pushing it?
Well, that's pushing it, but if that's how long it takes, that's how long it takes. I'll have to tell the contractor he's just going to have to hold his horses.
Or we can give Frank authority.
But we brought this up a month ago, and we knew that's a low spot. We asked Jeff to come back with the number. The low spot hasn't changed in the last month. I don't know. Yeah, maybe the sidewalk is an inch or 2 or 3 or some inches off of where it should have been, but it doesn't change the fact that we've got a low spot there. Let's do this right and fix the low spot.
Yep, I agree. We're putting too much work and money into this to not do it right.
All right, so I am hearing that we would like to fix the low spot. DeLong, do you have a thought? Are you in agreement?
Jeff, will that addition, will that fix it?
That will fix it. Yes. And I
Yep.
did, since we were extending, we were getting a price to extend a little catch basin to that low spot. I did have them add a second one between the sidewalk and the play area, just because it's a $50 item, and why not play it safe and add a second spot to pick up water in the park.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I'm in favor.
All right. All right. So then I am hearing a consensus as well that we will go ahead with the change order to fix the low spot.
And then I'm sorry, one more thing. Seating, Jeff. Is it advisable? I know he wants to move. Is it advisable to be seating in August?
So we are, according to the experts, we are now back into the growing season for seeding. So you can put seed down now. I prefer to would hold off because we still have to get the playground equipment in there. So
Right. And we're going to be driving on it.
Yeah, if he seeds it now, we're going to end up having to reseed wherever the playground guy accesses the site. I just don't know how much authority I have with the contract to tell him, no, you can't seed. If council would prefer it not get seeded, I will tell him that, and we'll leave it.
Well,
He
is he
just
on the
said-
hook if it doesn't take or if it gets ruined by the playground installation?
I'm sorry.
Are we on the hook or is he on the hook if the new seating gets damaged by the playground installation?
Well, I would say we're on the hook because we had 2 separate contracts, and this contract with JL Tice didn't say anything about him having to delay his restoration to accommodate a second contractor. I think the intent when this whole thing was put together was that the playground guy would have been in and out of here before our park guy was finishing the park.
What about the band shell? That's his responsibility. Are you concerned about damaging the great lawn with that install?
So he would be 100% responsible for that. If he wanted to seed before he installed the band shell, any damage he did installing the band shell, he would be responsible for.
Okay. I would like to. Go ahead, John.
Sorry, go ahead, Joe.
No, you go ahead.
My concern is not in not seeding is the weeds taking hold because, I mean, I look at my own yard. I mean, once they take hold, it's going to be hard to get the seed in there and get a decent lawn without having to kill it all and then start all over. So I think it would be wise to have them actually seed it. We may have to overseed next year or whatever.
There's $900 in the bid for herbicide. None has been used to date. So why does it matter if there are small weeds or big weeds if we're going to round up the entire area?
You can't plan after you round up for what? How many weeks? 5?
Yeah, there's a time frame there. I hate to tell a contractor you can't do work. So it's ready to seed. When the playground guy comes in, I can limit his access to a very small area. Seed is not that expensive, and maybe we have to pay to reseed an access route for the contractor. We could do it that way, or I can just have our contractor hold off on the whole thing. And if the weeds take over, then he'll argue with me that he needs to be compensated for that probably, but we'll deal with it.
I think that sounds like a good idea. If we just limit the access for the playground people.
I agree. I'm in favor of seeding.
All right. Any other discussion?
Mayor, members of the council, just a point of clarification. Back when we were talking about the tree, we had a cost of, I think it was $1,550 for tree removal, but we didn't incorporate in that cost the new tree. Jeff, do you know what that is?
Yes, I'll look it up. So in putting the new tree in would not necessarily be a change order. It would just be a quantity adjustment. So I believe those were 2.5-inch trees down there. We had 25 2.5-inch trees at the park for $750 a piece. So we would just put in a 26th 2.5-inch tree for $750.
Thank you.
And all the topsoil and burrow and everything is in and ready for seed?
Yeah, I believe we're 100% ready for seed.
All right.
I'm planning on stopping out there tomorrow. I haven't been out there since last week, so I'll take a look at it.
All right, so I'm going to need some help putting this together to make sure I have everything correct. So first item of business is in our motion, we would approve the city engineer July monthly report. We approve, in addition to approving the change order to correct the low spot, to remove the tree that is infected and replace it, and then to go ahead with the seeding and limit access to the playground equipment. Anything else we need included in this motion that I have forgotten?
No, that sounds good to me.
All right, with that then, I am looking for a motion.
So moved.
Moved by DeLuca,
Second.
second by Cahill. Any further discussion regarding this motion? Okay, hearing none. Frank, will you lead us in a roll call vote, please?
Mayor Massey Kuski,
Aye.
Councilmember Cahill,
Aye.
Councilmember DeLuca,
Aye.
Councilmember DeLong,
Aye.
Councilmember Fay.
Aye.
All right, the ayes have it 5-0 then. All right, thank you for that good discussion, everyone. Let's move on to new business, and we will begin with pay request number 2 from JL Tice in the Veterans Memorial Park, and I will turn that over to staff.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. City Council, you have in front of you pay request number 2. Unfortunately, we do have some extras on there. The first extra, which is the big one, is removal of tree stumps. Early on in the project, we went out to the site. The contractor was out there to grade the site, and there were a number of tree stumps out there. I contacted Bobby, asked him if the city's contractor was going to be out soon to remove the stumps. He wasn't sure. I did get a price from our contractor of $5,000 to remove the stumps. And Bobby told me to go ahead and let JL Tice remove the stumps for the $5,000. So that's the first extra on the change order or on the pay request. Secondly, there's the plans had called for 2 concrete ramps into the play area. We ended up only putting 1 into the play area. However, there was not a bid item in the project for that ramp. So we got an extra of $500, which is an extremely fair price for the ramp. So that was another extra. The extra for the drain tile in front of the band shell, the contractor actually had quoted us $1,790, I believe. We discussed this at the last meeting and approved that. Well, the bill he submitted me was only for $1,090. So that's on this pay app. I'm not sure if he'll come back for more money in the future on that one. We did have to remove a lot of excess material from the site. Again, he did find a site that was close by. He charged us a very fair rate to remove that excess material, but that total came to $2,096. The next one, the playground area has 2 drain tiles stubbed into it. It wasn't draining very well. So I asked him to give me a price to dig out around the drain tile and install a bunch of rock, basically creating a rock catch basin. He gave me the price of $1,350. His initial price was a lot higher than that. We discussed it. He brought it down to $1,350. However, he did do the work. My intention was to bring that to you and ask you if you wanted that work done. I would have recommended that it get done, but that work is done, and I did include that on the pay app. So that's all the extras. Are there any questions?
Jeff, when you say there was no ramps originally in the bid, I see that. Is the line item 33, the playground curb special, 300 linear feet of curb special, is that the curb special that makes the figure 8?
What line item? I'm sorry.
Line item 33? Because the plan originally called for 2 circles.
I'll have to read the spec. I'm sorry. I can't answer right now off the top of my head. And I do have to say too, that I have not been able to confirm all of these quantities. I didn't want to send somebody out there for a special trip. Why pay for that drive time when I was waiting till I had a guy that was in Orono, which I'm gonna have a guy in Orono this week, and then he can buzz over to Maple Plain. It's 5 minutes of drive time for him to measure up. So some of these quantities I may end up adjusting up or down on the next pay app, but I can't answer that right now exactly what pay item 33 is for, but I'll look at the spec and I'll get back to you on it.
Okay. And just a heads up, if they're asking for a pay request and you're asking us to approve a $217,000 pay request, please confirm the numbers before you ask us to make the approval.
I completely understand that with the group here, and I will for sure do that in the future.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Jeff or discussion regarding pay request number 2 from JL Tice? All right. All right. Hearing none, I am looking for a motion then to approve pay request number 2 from JL Tice for Veterans Memorial Park.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Fay,
Second.
second by DeLuca. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote led by Frank.
Mayor Mashpee,
Aye.
Councilmember Cahill,
Aye.
Councilmember DeLuca,
Aye.
Councilmember DeLong,
Aye.
Councilmember Fay.
Aye.
The ayes have it, 5-0. Next item of new business this evening is the transient merchant permit application request for 5300 Highway 12 to consider a request on the subject property for Nature's Nest, and I will turn that over to Frank.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The item before you is a request for a new transient merchant permit. You had provided to Nature's Nest, doing business at 5300 Highway 12, a permit, transient permit, merchant's permit for outdoor seasonal work in March for the service period May 1, 2020 through July 1, 2020. The applicant is now seeking a new permit to operate from August 1 of this year to December 24 of this year. Similar, I believe, to the previous request, a tent would be provided in the vacant parking lot of the property being used. The applicant would also propose to install a temporary tent with greenhouse that would be about 100 square feet in size, 10 by 10 more or less, and an additional shade structure is proposed to be located in the front of the building as well. The staff report provides for the definition of transient merchant for you. We did adopt recently an update to our transient merchant ordinance, and that update did provide for the city council hearing these matters, largely because of matters of public safety and public health. The council wanted to be able to contemplate the impact of approvals of this nature in the community, assuring that the public safety and public health was not impacted. The building on this particular site has no occupants at this time, and the property is zoned mixed-use Bud Avenue. Retail sale of plants is generally permitted within this zoning district, and the applicant has asked for approval to sell such items, and I think they're limited to plants, vegetables, honey, maple syrup, pumpkins, apples, spruce tops, Christmas sorts of things, and that is why the service area comprehends August 1st through December 24th. The applicant's also asking for a number of other things. The staff report in front of you compares this request to the previously approved request. They're asking for the open outdoor sales for a period of numerous months, as you can see, August 1 through December 24. I think in the past, your transient merchant applications have been limited to 3 months or 90 days. You may want to consider that. They also have asked for a request to use some small step signs, which are signs along the way as you get there. Of course, such signage cannot be within the right of way, and it's my understanding that it will be limited to 15 consecutive days, 6 times a year. So signage probably would not be something that would be usable by them for the entire period of time requested, nor can it be off this specific property. So the council may wish to consider that. they are wondering what kind of future permission the city would require for outdoor, if there were no structure needed, and therefore no inspection required. And the staff's comment there is the seasonal outdoor sales could be permitted as part of a site plan review and approval process, which I understand would be separate and apart from this. Nature's Nest is also asking for the possibility or the consideration by the council of including a small, in their terms, farmers market, which would consist up to 12 vendors. And so you can imagine vendors, a number of tents down the row, which is typically seen in association with farmers markets, and presumably for the same time period contemplated. The staff is seeking the council's direction. Let's make sure I got all the points here in the report. The staff is seeking council direction on these various requests. It might be noted, however, that your early approval was for a 3-month period. This is for a longer period of time. You may want to consider that. The signage would have to be a separate permit, as I understand. And I think the farmers market proposal is really outside of the purview of this particular agenda item and would need to be handled as a separate item at some future time. Be glad to answer any questions if you have any.
Questions for staff?
Is there, I didn't get a chance to drive over there today to look, but so there would be a 5 parking space requirement if there was a farmer's market scenario. We have more spaces than that over there if those tents are up. Does anybody know?
I think the primary concern here is that the parking lot itself is substandard, and that should be addressed as a prerequisite to further consideration of something like this. Apparently, some years ago, I'm not sure exactly who it was. I want to say it's the county, but they put ground up fines from some road improvement project there, and that really doesn't constitute a hard surface for parking purposes. I'm not sure I think you have the potential for a safety hazard in that kind of situation, both for pedestrians and for motorists. My understanding too is that the five stalls would be sufficient for the transient merchant license, but not for a farmer's market, because we're not exactly sure how big this market is going to be. If I'm wrong there, I'd be certainly correct me.
I was looking at the square footage per tent and using that in the calculation, and I think that's where Mark came up with the 5. I could be wrong as well. I was just curious if the parking lot is repaved and there were 10 tents out there or 12 tents out there. I think they would need more than the 5 parking spaces, just because of the nature of a farmer's market. There's going to be a lot more people coming and going. I was just wondering if we even had the parking lot space out there for that, if it were to be repaved.
I would like to propose.
Oh, we've gone mute.
I would like to propose to Frank's point that we look at this as 2 separate issues. So one being the farmer's market and the other being the transient merchant permit with the extended application and signage. So since we've started with the farmer's market, why don't we finish that one as well, unless someone strongly disagrees that you'd like this looked at as one.
I think, though, Mayor, before we start talking about the second piece of it, you have to answer the first question, which is the transient.
Yeah, that's true.
So
good point.
And my 2 cents here is transient merchant by definition means you come and you go. And that's exactly what we did for May and June. We said, you're coming in, you have an end date, and you leave. all of a sudden now we're back to, we want 5 months, more months in addition to the 2 months that we had. And we're going to run until December. This is starting to feel like buy a building and put a business in. That's not meeting the definition of a transient merchant in my mind.
I would agree. I think the nature of these is to allow temporary merchants, but I think there's two pieces here. I agree we should not have a temporary merchant that's longer than half the year. But I do think given the circumstances, we could perhaps maybe offer this one time 3-month provision. So not the full 6 months. And if they want to choose perhaps October to December, if that's better for their season, or if it's now between the next 3 months, I'm willing to do one more 3 months, but I don't want to do more than 6 months out of the year.
Caitlin, I like your compromise. I'm all about free markets, but when I read this, I thought a 5-month transient permit is just too long, and I don't want this turning into a bazaar.
And I don't want the city to get a reputation of being a tent city.
Right.
Well, and I'll clarify, I am purely proposing it because of the circumstances placed on businesses this year. It's just a really hard time to start a business. And so I will go on record saying that, when the pandemic's over, I wouldn't necessarily make the same consideration. But I think we've tried to accommodate, additional outdoor spaces for our businesses. This 1 year, I'm willing to make that accommodation.
I agree, but you have to remember, all of us have to remember, when they looked back in June to extend it through July, remember the conversation we had there? Mm-hmm. And it had to do with establishing business in a parking lot, not a bricks and mortar type of situation. My position on that hasn't changed. I'm willing to grant them a period, but look at the sign permits. 15 days, no more than 6 times a year. We put limitations on how these things function. And I'm just saying, to run a business from August 1 until Christmas, I'm just not comfortable with that.
Oh, I agree. I don't think it should be the full 5 months.
No, and I have serious reservations about having a tent up after sometime in October. We get snow around here.
I like the concept. I like the concept of them actually renting from the facility, and then maybe having I love the concept of a farmer's market. I see no problem with the tents out there. I like that whole piece, but I also do agree that this is a long period of time, and it's sort of skirting the whole idea of the transient merchant.
They are saying that they're only going to be open 3 days a week, but to me, that doesn't matter. I mean, that's a move point that was in our report. My struggle with this is May to December with a month break does not define our transient merchant permit. And if we do it for one, we have to do it for all. I also struggle because we have 2 businesses in town that are paying taxes and do have these services already. So that's where I'm at with it. And the sign permit is what it is. That's a whole separate entity. Oops.
You're muted, Frank.
Darn it, I'm sorry. The mayor, members of council, just a point of clarification. I think if this was a farmer's market request, that we'd ask far more questions. You've got, as you said, you've got so many more entities in there. That creates obviously more traffic. You hope it does if it's going to be successful. And so I think it's very hard to deal with the farmer's market aspect. I think we've only got enough information to really address the transient merchant portion, as you are.
Well, and in past history in this city, we've had farmers markets down on our Main Street property. We know that going forward in next year, we're going to have farmers markets at the new park. We've designed electrical outlets and things for that. So this would be a one-time thing to get a farmers market for this fall. But I cannot get past the fact that we are really setting up here a May through December, end of December, with a 1 month break. That's not a transient merchant.
And no one's online to ask the question, but the first thing I thought, being that the end date was December 24th, was that come Thanksgiving, it's going to be a Christmas tree farm. So they mentioned spruce tops and Christmas greens or something like that, but I can't think that it's not going to be Christmas trees. Whether that's good or bad or indifferent, I don't know.
Any further discussion? Anyone willing to make a motion?
I will move that we offer one final 90-day transient permit, the dates of the merchant's choosing. It's my motion.
Anyone willing to second that?
I'll second that.
Second by Councilmember Fay. Any further discussion? Caitlin, I just want to clarify, you said 90 days, not our normal 60-day?
Oh, I thought our normal was 90.
60.
Okay, well then
Our normal is 60.
okay,
Oh.
I would amend it to our normal 60-day permit with the dates. Yeah,
I concur. Frank said 90, so I just assumed it was 90.
I believe it's 60.
My error.
okay.
My error.
Is it? Okay. All right, so we have an
Not,
amended.
not to include farmer's market extra tents.
Right,
No, to me, that's a separate permit, separate
Okay.
application.
so there is an amended motion on the table to approve the transient merchant permit application for 5300 Highway 12 for 60 days. The merchant may choose those 60 days, and they will have to follow the sign ordinance laws as well. Is that accurate?
Within 2020, just to clarify.
Good point. Within 2020. Thank you.
And maybe
Councilmember
I have
DeLuca.
serious reservations still about having transient merchants up in December and November. To the point where I would move that we amend that motion to say no later than October 31st.
That's 60 days within 90.
60 days would be
Why do you say
between
October
August-
31st? Risk of
Because
snow?
I don't want the transient merchant tents and things up in November and December.
Because of the snow,
Yep.
so safety.
You're right.
And the
Not
parking lot
Matthew
is not
Cloud.
conducive.
So my amendment would put an end date on it of October 31st. They could pick their 60 days anytime between August 1st and October 31st.
Okay.
60 consecutive days.
So we have two amendments to the first motion. And that would be that we would approve the permit between now and October 31st for 60 days. And they would need to adhere to our sign ordinance as well. Is that accurate?
Which is the 15-day limit, no more than 6 times in a calendar year.
Correct.
Would that be a new count on the sign, or would this be in addition to their June and May sign?
I believe it would be separate because we're approving a new permit, so it would start over.
I agree.
would be my understanding. We'd have to ask Mark, I believe, if someone's questioning that.
Is
I think
anyone
it's-
interested in pushing that out to November 15? Give them 75, give them 105 days to do their 60 days in, Mike?
Well, I have an amendment on the table for October 31st, and my rationale is think back to a number of years ago when we had a Halloween blizzard.
Last year we had snow on October 11th. It was senior night.
October 31st is fine.
It was senior night at the football game. All right, so do we need a motion for the amendment, Frank?
You could do it in that fashion, or if the motioner and seconder will concur with the amendment, that would address the amendment right there, and away you go.
Okay, so the motion was made by Cahill,
I concur with the addition of the October 31st date.
and it was seconded by Councilmember Fay.
And I agree.
All right, so the amended motion is between now and October 31st for 60-day conditional use permit, and we'll need to apply for separate sign ordinances as well. Is that correct? All right. So we have a motion, a second. I think we've discussed it to death, so we will turn it over to Frank for a roll call vote.
Naskowski,
Aye.
Cahill, or Councilmember Cahill, correct me?
Aye.
Councilmember DeLuca,
Aye.
Councilmember DeLong,
Aye.
Councilmember Fay.
Aye.
All right, the ayes have it 5-0 for the amended transient merchant permit application. Right. The next item of business this evening is council reports and other business. And I am going to start with Councilmember Fay, followed by Councilmember DeLong.
And I apologize.
Oh, that's all right. Thank you, Councilmember DeLong.
Nothing to report.
We're moving fast. Councilmember DeLuca, followed by Councilmember Cahill.
Nothing to report.
Oh my goodness. Councilmember Cahill.
I have nothing additional to report.
All right, well, okay, that was really quick. I'll make up for all of you then. I'd like to thank everyone for our 2 special meetings and making time to do that in the summer. I know it's especially hard to give up our nice evenings, so thank you for your hard work. And through that, we have Frank with us, so welcome again. Would also like to congratulate Pete Ketting and Gavin Schaefer, our winners from the Step To It Challenge, and they received some gift certificates from local businesses and came up and had their pictures taken. So due to social distancing, we were not able to do that at a meeting, but just want to publicly acknowledge them, congratulate them, and congratulate and thank everyone who participated. So thank you for the Step To It. Highway 12 Safety Coalition we met, and right now would really like to encourage everyone to go onto the Hennepin County website, and there's a virtual open house. Again, because of COVID, we're not able to host this in person, but your opinion and your feedback is important. So please go to the Hennepin County website for the County Road 92 virtual open house. You can also find links for that on our website, and I will ask to get those on Facebook as well. I was able to attend the Regional Council and Mayor's meeting with Superintendent Orcott, and it was really a great meeting. Talked about how great schools need great cities and great cities need great schools, and just partnerships and collaboration, and really spent a lot of time networking with other superintendents and mayors on things that we can do, especially with the challenges of COVID and distance learning. A universal theme throughout was the internet disparity that we are all facing, and looked at some creative ways to collaborate and work on that. So that conversation has begun and will continue. Councilmember Fay and I have been busy with Rotary meetings, and a special thank you to Councilmember Fay for submitting the grant for the park. That was a lot of extra work. I was able to attend a couple webinars, one of them through the National League of Cities for Leadership in Challenging Uncertain Times, another one about the CARES Act, and then another taking care of your community. So it's just been a busy time with COVID and transitions, and just doing the best we can to move forward together, and knowing that together we will get through all of this. And I would also like to invite anyone and everyone out to Coffee with the Council on this Wednesday, the 29th. I will be meeting from 3 to 5 at McGarry's outside social distancing. And then the next one will be in September with Councilmember Fay. So watch our newsletter and social media sites for more information regarding those. So thank you to the council and everyone for all their work and their liaisons and keeping things moving. Any other business or anything else that we should report this evening? Hearing none, I am looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by DeLuca,
I'll second.
second by Fay. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign? All right, the meeting is adjourned at 8 o'clock. Thank you.